So this is going to be a whisper ramble video. Also, I have a bit of a new hairstyle going on. I don't know. I'm trying it out. I'm trying something different. I'm not sure how I feel about it, so you'll have to let me know. I don't know if I don't like it simply because it's different. Because, you know, like sometimes you try a new hairstyle and, you know, it's because it's different. It's not what you're used to. You're not super comfortable in it. I don't know if I just don't like it because of that, or if it actually just doesn't look that good. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. I don't know. Anyway, that's not the point of this video. I'm going to be doing a whisper ramble because I don't do those very often, and I'm sure there are people out there that like whisper rambles more than soft-spoken rambles, so that's what this video is going to be. But we're talking about Starfield. In the last video, I mentioned Starfield. I talked a bit about it. That was before it actually came out. It was at that time available to people that bought like the deluxe edition or whatever. They got like early access. But yeah, it hadn't officially come out yet. It has officially come out by this point, and I have played it now because it came out on Game Pass. And wow, it is getting dark. The sun is going behind some clouds. It got really dark. That's weird. It's so weird how clouds work. No, I mean, it just typically doesn't get that dark. It got really dark. Like, that wasn't just in the camera. Like, it actually got, like, really dark. Anyway. I've played Starfield now. Because it came out on Game Pass. I didn't realize it was going to come out on Game Pass. So, like, I was debating whether or not I was going to get it. And then it came out on Game Pass. So I was like, okay, well, cool. Now I can try it and see if I like it. And I have to say, it's pretty fucking amazing. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm really glad that it came out on Game Pass, because honestly, I think I was erring more on the side of not even giving it a chance, because I was like, it's gonna definitely be more like Fallout than Skyrim, and like I said in the last video, I'm just not big into Fallout. At least I wasn't into Fallout 4. I've never played any of the other ones. I've heard that like Fallout 3 is really good. I've heard that Fallout New Vegas is really good. I've never gone back and played those games, so I don't know exactly if I would have liked them, but I've played Fallout 4 a little bit, very shortly, very briefly, and it didn't click with me. And that was like one of the things. It was like, you know, I talked about how when I played Skyrim for the first time, I know it's getting dark again, but anyway. My nose is kind of runny, I don't know why. When I played Skyrim for the first time, it clicked instantaneously. It was just like, oh wow, this is a cool game. Like, I'm gonna play this a lot. Like, I already like it. And then when I played Fallout, so I played Skyrim, and I really liked Skyrim, and I played it for a long time. And then Fallout 4 came out when I was in high school. It came out in like, what, 2014, 2015 or something like that. I don't know. And it was made by Bethesda, and they made Skyrim, and it was a pretty similar game in most regards. So I was like, if it's going to be like Skyrim, then I'm going to love it. I'm going to put a lot of time into it, so I bought it. And it just didn't click. Like, I played it, and I played it for like, I think I have like 10 hours in it or something, maybe like 10 to 15. And it never clicked. It never clicked. And yeah, I kind of see it both ways. It's like, well, you know, obviously these games are really long. Skyrim is a really long game. Like, if you want to complete it 100%, there's a lot of quest lines, there's a lot of things to do, a lot of items to collect and stuff like that. So, I mean, like, obviously the game is really long, so, you know, you might not know that you're gonna like it within, like, the first couple hours, you know, whatever. I see it that way, but at the same time, it's also like, I don't know, because with Skyrim, it did just click right away, and with Fallout, it didn't. And so with Starfield, I was very skeptical, and I was thinking it was going to be more like Fallout, so I was like, oh, I'm just going to play it, and I'm not going to like it, and I'm going to waste $60 or $70 or how much ever games are these days. However much, I said however much games are these days. Anyway, but then it came out on Game Pass, and I started playing it, and it clicked instantly like Skyrim. Honestly, it feels a lot more like Skyrim than Fallout, I would say. I don't know. Maybe that's just my, like, brain compartmentalizing Starfield and Skyrim together because I like them, and then Fallout on its own. And that's not really being objective, I don't know. But yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. It's really crazy. The best way I can describe it to myself is Starfield is the game that I thought No Man's Sky was going to be before No Man's Sky came out. So, like back in, I don't even know when that was. I think No Man's Sky came out in 2016. I'm pretty sure it was 2016. But leading up to its release, obviously they were doing a lot of marketing and there was a lot of hype building behind it, and I was a part of that hype. And I was really looking forward to No Man's Sky. Like, really looking forward to No Man's Sky. I would say No Man's Sky may have been, well, at that point, definitely. At this point, I don't know. But at that point, it was most certainly my most anticipated game of, like, all time. Like, I devoted so much energy to, like, you know, like, looking into, like, news related to the game, like, any announcements that were being made, like, any behind-the-scenes, like, looks at the development of the game, and there were a lot of channels at that time, I don't remember, or, actually, no, wait, it was, I don't know if they still make videos, but, Cobra TV, I'm pretty sure was the name of the channel, Cobra TV. They were one of the channels that was really heavily covering the game up to its release. I watched a lot of their videos, like a lot, because it was just like anything I could absorb about this game, I would absorb it. I was very invested in the game, and then it came out and it was garbage, and it crushed me. It crushed me. But playing Starfield, and at this point, I've been playing it for a few days, and I've put a lot of time in it. It's funny, in like the few days that I've been playing it, I've put more time into Starfield at this point than Fallout 4 and The Witcher 3 combined. Both of those games I bought thinking that they would be similar to Skyrim. And both of them I played for like about 10 hours. And I just dropped them. They didn't click. I didn't like them. Starfield clicked, and I like it. And I've already played it in like a couple of days more than I played either of those games combined. So, where was I? I was talking about No Man's Sky. So No Man's Sky came out. It sucked, and I was devastated. I would say, though, that the game that I thought No Man's Sky was going to be actually is Starfield. Like, Starfield just is that game. It's kind of weird. It's like, we finally got it. We finally got the game that we thought we were going to get with No Man's Sky. It just came, I mean, let's see, 2016, that's 4, so 7 years later. It just came 7 years later. It's pretty crazy. It's crazy to think 2016 was 7 years ago, goddamn. Anyway, I don't know, I've kind of come to the conclusion, and I don't know how accurate this is, but I think I've come to the conclusion that the more excited you are for a video game release, the worse it is going to be. And I don't know if that's like a personal experience or like let me explain. So I've had 3 games within my lifetime at this point. 3 games that I got particularly hyped out of my mind about. That was a bit of a elf reference. Anyway, no, for real, 3 games. There are 3 games. Those 3 games, are you ready? Those 3 games that I got incredibly hyped for were No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk 2077, and Battlefield 2042. And if you've played any of those games or all of those games, then you would know that all of those games are garbage. So it's pretty demoralizing to like get really excited for these things and to have them be garbage every time. With Starfield, I talked about this in the last video. Sorry, my nose is running, I don't know why. I talked about this in the last video, but I really didn't even didn't know Starfield was like a game until like a month ago. I was not a part of the hype. I didn't know anything about it, and actually, as soon as I found out about it and watched like gameplay trailer, or gameplay reveal, whatever it's called, when I saw that, I was like, this game is going to be garbage. I was fully on board with the game being garbage. Like, I was like, yeah, this game is going to be bad. Like, I can tell. Because, you want to know why I can tell? Because it looks like No Man's Sky. And No Man's Sky was garbage. And there's also just been an increasing amount of games that release completely unfinished. Like, Cyberpunk 2077 was just completely unfinished. Like, just literally completely unfinished. Like, I don't even understand how they could sell that, like, not only morally, but legally. And I mean, I guess there was a pretty big lawsuit that happened because of that game. But I think that had more to do with false advertising in the sense of they talked about how the game worked really well on the base PS4, and it didn't. So I think that's what the lawsuit was about. But still, that game was just like blatantly unfinished. Like, not even just like buggy and just like it needs some refinement. No, like it was just, there were like things just missing. Like it was just unfinished. So I expected the game, I expected Starfield to be like that. I expected it to be bad in the ways that No Man's Sky was bad, but also unfinished in the ways that a lot of games are releasing nowadays. But the game seems actually pretty polished and pretty bug-free, especially for a Bethesda game. I mean, as much as I love Skyrim, there's a ton of bugs in that game that range from really funny to really frustrating. Like, there's a lot of just weird, like, quirks of Bethesda games where, like, the NPCs do silly things, you know? And it's, you know, the bugs like that aren't, you know, too bad or anything, but they're funny. But then there's, like, actual, like, really annoying bugs, like quests not being able to complete or even start in the first place or stuff like that, you know, things that actually stop you from being able to progress in the game. Those are really annoying, and I haven't run into anything like that. And from other videos that I've watched and reviews and stuff, like I don't really watch game reviews, but I watch Video Game Donkey a lot. I love his videos, and he recently made a video about it, and he stated how he also hasn't really run into any bugs either. So for a Bethesda release, it seems pretty stable, which is ironic simply because it's Bethesda, but also because, like I said, I mean, games are releasing in really weird states nowadays. I don't know. But yeah, I'm liking it a lot. And yeah, it really does feel like the game I expected No Man's Sky to be. And looking back, I mean, yeah, obviously No Man's Sky was never going to be that game. But it's cool that we finally have it, essentially. I mean, it's exactly the game I wanted No Man's Sky to be. Because, you know, when I was getting excited for No Man's Sky, this was back in like 2014, 2015. That was around the time that I got into Skyrim. I didn't play Skyrim like right when it came out because I was only like 11 at the time and I didn't have a way to play it. I didn't have a gaming computer. I didn't have an Xbox. So I had no way to play the game. So I didn't actually start playing it until like around 2014, 2015, probably somewhere around in there. The first time I actually played it, I don't know if you're allowed to admit this. I don't know, I'm gonna do it anyway. I've admitted to worse things, I think. Going on a side tangent, sorry, I have my phrase. I found out that it's apparently illegal to knowingly purchase like knockoff goods. So that video I talked about a while ago, where I talked about buying things from China, I take that back. That was satire. That was a joke. That was a joke. That wasn't real. Anyway, the first version of Skyrim I played, the first time I played Skyrim, well, not technically the very first time I played Skyrim, but the first time I played Skyrim, like I owned the game and I played it on my own playthrough, because I had played it leading up to that at like friends' houses, like they owned an Xbox and we would play it there or whatever. But the first time like I owned the game and I played the game, it was a pirated version of the game, which probably gave my computer, which was just like a really cheap laptop at the time, it probably gave my laptop a bunch of viruses, but I played it and it was fun. But yeah, that was probably around like 2014, 2015, so like leading up to the release of No Man's Sky, I think what I wanted it to be mentally was essentially, you know, Skyrim in space. That phrase has been overused a lot. You know, a lot of games get described as Skyrim with guns or Skyrim in space. It is overused, and I'm not a huge fan of that phrase. But honestly, I mean, there isn't really a better way to describe Starfield than Skyrim in space. That's really what it feels like. It really feels like Skyrim in space. But yeah, I think that's what I wanted No Man's Sky to be, and looking back, it seems silly that I would even have expected that, let alone, you know, I don't even think they were really marketing the game that way. Which I think is maybe one of the downsides of getting built, like, caught up in the hype of any release, is just the idea that, like, you know, obviously they're gonna make the game look as good and as fun as possible just to sell more copies, but then I think there's also this subconscious event that happens within us that, you know, you see what you want to see and then you start like extrapolating that. I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but this is something that I feel like I do a lot, where it's like you extrapolate the ideas that you're being shown and you put them towards like the things that you personally want to see that were never even like advertised. You know, it's like I wanted No Man's Sky to be this like space RPG with like quest lines and stuff, but it's like it was never really meant to be that way. I don't even think they marketed it that way. It was an exploration game. That was the whole point. You're in this universe with 18 quintillion planets, and you're just going between the planets. That's essentially it. There is a loose story in the game, but it's not like a Bethesda quest, you know. And there's not like branching quest lines like in Bethesda games. Not necessarily branching, but just an inordinate amount of quest lines like there are in Bethesda games. So yeah, it was a bit unreasonable for me to assume that was going to be the way the game was, but it was the assumption I made, and that's just the point I'm trying to make. It's that I think, at least with me, like I said, I can't apply this to everyone, but at least with me, it seems like the more excited I get for a game, the more likely it is that the game is actually going to end up being trash. At least that was 3 for 3. And then I wasn't excited about Starfield, very much the opposite. I was like, this game's going to be trash. And then it actually ends up being really good. So at this point, I think I've just decided that I'm just going to completely block out any kind of like announcement for video games or anything like that. I'm going to live under a rock. And the only way I'm going to be able to find out about like new releases is, I guess, just like browsing the store every once in a while and seeing what's like new. It's like, oh, this game came out, I didn't even know what this is, let's try this, you know, because it seems like that's the best way to actually enjoy a game. I don't know. The game isn't perfect though. I don't want to make it seem like it's perfect. There are some flaws. I don't necessarily agree with everyone's assessment of the game. It seems like a lot of people, from what I've seen, are disappointed with the amount of loading screens. There are a decent amount of loading screens in the game because it's not seamless. I think a lot of people expected it to be seamless, like No Man's Sky, where, you know, you can just fly from planet to planet and you can do whatever you want. And that's not the case. But honestly, I think I prefer it the way that it is. I don't know. I don't know if the people that want it to be seamless have ever played a game like Elite Dangerous. I have a lot of time in Elite Dangerous. For those of you who don't know, Elite Dangerous is think of like a flight simulator, like Microsoft Flight Simulator, where it's like, you know, they've got all these like highly detailed like aircraft like a Boeing 747, and like you sit in the cockpit, and like the whole thing is like it's a simulator, you know. It's like the real thing. That's essentially what Elite Dangerous is, except it's in space, and it's like in the future, and it's with spaceships. It's maybe not quite as detailed as flight simulators are either, so it's a little bit dumbed down in a way. But it's fairly in depth, especially compared to like No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is very arcadey. It's very cartoonish in its presentation. Elite Dangerous is a lot more realistic, a lot more simulator oriented. And I have a lot of time in Elite Dangerous, and Elite Dangerous is a somewhat similar game to these other games like No Man's Sky and Starfield, in the sense that it takes place in the future. It takes place, you know, in space with spaceships and stuff. Like, that's the idea, you know. Obviously, No Man's Sky and Starfield are a little bit more complex than just the idea of being in space with a spaceship. But you know, you get the idea. They're fairly similar games, and they have similar mechanics. And one of the things with Elite Dangerous is flying from place to place in your spaceship. And it's all seamless. There's no loading screens in Elite Dangerous. At least not like traditional loading screens. Now there are like hidden loading screens. So the way Elite Dangerous works, I'll try to wrap this up really, you know, I'll paraphrase, you know, whatever that's called. Anyway, in Elite Dangerous, it's the Milky Way galaxy. The entire Milky Way galaxy is explorable, which is pretty crazy. And it's like a true one-to-one, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It might be procedurally generated, so it's not exactly one-to-one with the actual Milky Way galaxy. But, I mean, they have, like, Sol, and you can go to Earth and stuff. You can't actually land on the planets. It's all in space. You can't actually get out of your spaceship. Your character is basically the spaceship. So that's where they're a bit different. But anyway, you have the entire Milky Way galaxy, and you can travel from star system to star system, and, you know, do whatever you want in those star systems. And so obviously the distances between stars is much greater than the distances between, you know, planets in a solar system. And so when traveling between the star systems in Elite Dangerous, you have like this hyper velocity travel mode, like this warp mode, where, you know, you set your destination and it just automatically like flies you to that location, and it happens like almost instantly. Now that's where the loading screen is. It's a hidden loading screen in the sense that, like, you know, there's no like fade to black and then like a loading bar in the bottom, you know. It's all in game, but it is loading the game as it does all that stuff. And if you have a slower hard drive, like if you have the game loaded onto a hard drive rather than like an SSD, the amount of warp time will be longer, because that's all it's doing. It's just, you're just waiting for the game to load in the new star system that you're traveling to. But once you're in that star system, there's no loading screen. You fly to and from things seamlessly. But everything in Elite Dangerous is done very realistically. So the planets in the solar systems are all true scale, right? They're all fucking massive, because these things are fucking massive. And there are travel times between planets that are ridiculously long. So, like I was saying, when you travel between the stars, it's like, it's basically instantaneous. But when you're inside a star system, you don't have that option. There's no like instantaneous travel option. You have to fly to the destination. Now, obviously, you're flying like super fucking fast relative to someone like walking on the ground, you know, like incredibly fast, like half the speed of light, or maybe even faster than that. I'm not 100% sure. I forget. It tells you in the game, but it's been a long time since I played that game, so I don't remember exactly how fast you're going. So you're going very fast, but in regards to the scale of a solar system, you're going very slowly. And there are solar systems in that game where the closest, you know, space station is like literally a 20 to 30 minute flight to get there. There is no faster way to get there. You just have to sit there flying in a straight line for 20 to 30 minutes. It's not fun. It's not fun, let me tell you. So as a person that has played that game, and experienced that, I don't really want that. I just don't find that fun. Honestly, I think the loading screens are better than that being seamless. Now, obviously, there's a middle ground there where the loading screens are hidden. I think that would have been cool too. I would have been okay with that, so long as the time between planets was relatively quick, if not the same amount of time that they are now with the loading screens. Now, I assume that hidden loading screens take a little bit longer to load things than non-hidden loading screens, simply because in a hidden loading screen, the game still has to reserve some of the computational power of your system into maintaining the illusion that you're still in the game, right? Rather than it just fading to black and the game can just fully devote all of its power to loading the next thing that you're loading, right? So I assume that there is, even with hidden loading screens, there's a little bit of an increase in the amount of time spent just waiting, essentially. But if it was done to a reasonable degree, then I would be okay with that. But yeah, a lot of people seem to want to purely seamless gameplay where you take off and you fly from place to place. And it's I've played that game, and it's not fun. Now, Elite Dangerous is kind of fun. It's a little boring and monotonous, but like I said, I have a lot of time in it. There are elements of the game that are fun. But, yeah. I just personally prefer the way Starfield does it. I don't view the loading screens as a detriment to the game, really, in any way. I know I've lost the video feed. Let me see if I can just restart the recording. Okay, I think we're back. I don't know how long this is gonna last, but anyway. So yeah, I've been seeing that complaint a lot. It seems like a lot of people want it to be purely seamless, and honestly, I don't personally view that as a big downside to the game. I'm perfectly fine fast traveling around, and that actually comes from a person that hates fast travel. I genuinely dislike fast traveling games, typically because, to me, fast traveling just bypasses the game. And I say that purely from a viewpoint of a Skyrim player. When I played Skyrim, I never fast traveled because, to me, a big part of the game was that journey from point A to point B. All of the things that would happen on your way there, you would completely miss them when you fast traveled. I even downloaded mods for Skyrim that not only disabled fast travel, so not only, even if you wanted to do it, you couldn't do it, but it also improved the more immersive ways of fast traveling, like the carriages in Skyrim. It added more carriage locations that you could go to. It adjusted the prices of the carriages, so there was more of a cost-benefit analysis, that had to be made by the player of whether or not, they deemed the carriage service worth it, or if they would just go there on foot, or better horses. That's a mod in Skyrim that makes the horses more usable, so that, you feel less inclined to fast travel because, hey, I've got this horse that is faster travel, but it's not bypassing the game. So as a player, I really dislike fast travel, because to me, it bypasses the game. But in Starfield, the things you're fast traveling between, there's nothing there. You're fast traveling between space. Space, the best way to describe space, is empty. It's empty. It's fucking empty. It's a vacuum. There's not even particles. It's not like empty air, where in the air there's still air. Space is literally nothing. So with Starfield, when you're fast traveling, it's just a convenience. It's just pure convenience. You're not really skipping over anything. That's just how you travel around in the game. So I really don't have a problem with it, personally. But anyway, I'm trying to think of other things. things. Uh, I I had like ideas of things that I'm not a huge fan of with the game so far. Oh yeah. So in the game, you know, to travel around, you can open the star map and like choose your destination, and you can warp there, or you can just use the scanner, which is all like done in game, and it feels a lot more like it feels a bit cooler. It feels a bit more seamless, which is kind of counterintuitive to what I was saying, I know, but it just feels a little bit more natural to do it using the scanner. But once you've like found multiple locations at the same place, it doesn't allow you to use the scanner. You still have to open the star map, so that's a bit of a nuisance, I would say. It would be cool if there was a way to continue to use the scanner to fast travel between places, even after finding multiple places in the same area. What else? I feel like there's things I'm completely forgetting about just because I've been talking for so long and now they're not on my mind. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm enjoying it a lot. I know in the last video I asked you guys what you thought, and some of you guys responded saying that it seemed like you were kind of, you felt mediocre about it, maybe at best or so, where, the game wasn't living up to your expectations or whatever. If that's the case, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make this video to make you seem like, I'm not trying to rub it in that I'm like having a ton of fun and you're not, or anything like that. I trust me, I've been there, like I said. Okay, well, that just messed up the recording. Anyway, the phone's running out of battery, it's running out of space, everything's going wrong. I was about to say, I've been there. The last 3 out of 3 games that I've been excited for flopped, so I know what that's like. So I am sorry if you're not enjoying the game, but I have to say that I am very much enjoying the game. It is, it's honestly like refreshing to finally play a game that's like actually fun. Because it feels like it's been a really long time since I've played like an actual fun game. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this ramble. Oh, wait. I just realized because I looked at the screen. Okay, so I'm playing, one last thing. I'm playing on Xbox, and it is locked to 30 frames per second. Now, after having played for a little while now, I am getting used to the 30 frames per second. But good lord, I thought we were past the 30 frames per second era. We are living in 2023. How is a game coming out and it's still 30 frames per second? I think it's because the game is being rendered at 4K. I don't even know if it's native 4K, but and I've seen things that said that they wanted to prioritize the visual fidelity rather than the frame rate. I don't personally agree with the idea that like frame rate is not a part of visual fidelity. Like, to me, they go hand in hand. Frame rate is the very medium through which your player experiences the visual fidelity of your game. It is very important. I am not a fan of 30 frames per second. Now, it hasn't ruined my experience. Obviously, I'm still enjoying the game. But if they add, with an update, like a performance mode, like a lot of games nowadays have like a performance mode and then like a fidelity mode. And the performance mode is usually like rendered at like 1080p or 1440p at 60 frames per second. And then the fidelity mode is 4K 30. If they added that, I would 100% switch to 60 frames per second because, of course, 60 frames per second is like, I'm not one of those people that thinks that like, you need to have like 300 frames per second or anything like that. And to be fair, I've never actually played a game at anything higher than 60 frames per second, so I don't even know what it's like to play a game at like 120 frames per second or anything like that. I've just never had a monitor that has that fast of a refresh rate. But yeah, 60 versus 30, it's no question. It's no question. Not to mention, I mean, I'm playing on a 1440p monitor, so I mean, for me, I guess I'm a little biased because, like, for me, I'm not really getting anything out of the 4K. I mean, I guess technically, you know, if the game is being rendered at 4K and then being presented to me at 1440p, then there theoretically is some amount of, like, super sampling that's happening, so things will look a little sharper and, like, it'll be naturally anti-aliased, so who knows, maybe if it was being rendered at native 1440p, it would look worse than it does now. But I think if I was presented with that option between 1440p and 60 frames per second and 4K 30, I'm pretty sure I'd go with 1440p. Also, an FOV slider would be nice, but, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, those are the things that I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm still enjoying the fuck out of this game. And after I make this video, I'm definitely gonna go play it again. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and